It's that time of year again, March Madness, where the best teams battle it out for the championship. But what does this have to do with leadership? Everything. The way a coach builds a winning team is the same way a leader builds a winning team at school and, in turn, a strong school culture. Today, we're breaking down the leadership lessons hidden in the madness of March and how you can take your team to the next level. Let's get powered up. Hi, friend. Are you ready to move into a leadership position? Do you have interests and ambitions that you want to pursue, but feel like you don't know how to take that next step? Maybe you want to start your own coaching or consulting agency. I'm Mel, and I help educators define their career path through correct mindset, knowing your options, and getting prepared for your career transition. I will show you how to level up your leadership skills, share your expertise in a new way, create impact on a larger scale, and put your leadership in motion. As an educator for over 20 years, I started to feel underused and like I had more to give. I knew when the time had come for me to leave the classroom and affect change on a larger level. Now, I'm ready to help you determine where your talents and skills mesh with your passions and interests. Put your leadership in motion and move into that next phase of your educational career journey. Let me help you define your career path by having the right mindset, knowing your options, and getting prepared for that next leadership position. So power up and put your leadership in motion. Hey guys, welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Dr. Mel. My daughter-in-law sent us a bracket for March Madness. Now, this is my daughter-in-law who is not super athletic and has no clue who to even choose for the brackets. But she sent it out and told us she needed it back by the end of the day. I'm like, well, you're probably out of luck. So just make a good, educated guess and go from there. We know that March Madness isn't just about those buzzer beaters and those Cinderella stories where everyone lives happily ever after. It's a masterclass in leadership. So I want you to look at it this way. A great coach doesn't just focus on the X's and the O's. They build culture. They develop their players, and they make some real-time decisions under pressure. Does that sound familiar? That's because a strong school leader does the exact same thing. You guys do that every single day. Today, I'm going to talk about some leadership lessons from March Madness that will help you turn your school into a championship team. And that's what we really want. We want a championship team. Now, there's a couple of ways we can look at March Madness. Right now, we're getting ready to go into the testing season. And it's a madhouse out there trying to make sure, especially here in Missouri, because we've had some bad weather. And so we've missed some school. And I know all the building leaders out there are really pushing their teachers right now to make sure that lessons are on point, that there is no missed learning minutes, that we keep distractions out of the classroom. But it's also that season where we're starting to think about our team for next year. I saw a post on Facebook today where a principal has to have a tough conversation with two teachers that are not being invited back next year. And that is really hard. That's a tough conversation no matter how long you've been in leadership, but that's especially hard when you are a new building leader. But you want to have a winning team. And remember, it is all about your students. So if your students are not receiving the instruction and they are not learning at high capacity, then you have to make some tough choices. I don't want to just talk about testing and having those tough conversations for your March Madness. I want to talk about the positive part of March Madness, the good stuff. The first thing I want to talk about is building a winning culture. You can have a team with all the talent in the world, but if you don't have a good culture, you won't make it past that first round. In March Madness, the teams that make deep runs are the ones with the strong cultures. They trust each other, they know their roles, and they are committed to a shared goal. This is exactly the kind of culture that you want in your building. And great school leaders, they set that same exact tone. They do the same thing. So I want you to ask yourself, what kind of culture are you building in your school? Do your teachers feel supported and empowered, or do they feel micromanaged? And if you are a micromanager, you are going to be working yourself to death. If you have built a culture where you feel like you have to micromanage your teachers, or if your team is one that you feel like you have to micromanage, either your school culture is bad or you have the wrong team. Either way, you got some work to do to fix it because you don't need to micromanage excellent teachers. They can do the work without your being there almost. I've always heard it said that you want to build the kind of school that your teachers can run without you, but they don't want to. Do your students and your staff understand your expectations, or are there inconsistencies in what you say and what you do? There is nothing worse as a teacher than not knowing what your principal is going to do next. They say one thing, or they say something else, or they say one thing and they do something else, and it gets really confusing, and they don't know what the expectation is going to be. And it's really toxic when you have that kind of culture. A winning culture isn't about fancy slogans. It's about what you allow, what you enforce and what you reinforce, and what you model every single day. It starts with you. You are the building leader. You set the tone. You create the culture. Number 2, scout your talent and develop their strengths. March is when we tend to hand out contracts to teachers. At least in Missouri, that's when teacher contracts usually go out. And we have to sometimes make a tough decision because it's about what's best for students. And if you have a teacher that you've worked with and you've put in 100% trying to get them on par, but it's just not happening, sometimes you have to make that tough decision. You're no longer directly responsible for the learning of the students. You're indirectly responsible because you are now responsible for the instruction that the teachers give to the students, which indirectly affects student achievement. And the best coaches, they don't just work with what they have. They develop their players into something greater. On some of the March Madness teams, some of the players enter as unknowns, but sometimes they leave as stars. Why? Because a coach saw some potential in them and they nurtured it. And that's exactly what you have to do as a school leader. As a school leader, you're responsible for developing your team. That's your job. Are you recognizing teachers who can be stars? Are you recognizing their strengths? And are you putting them in positions to succeed? Are you investing in professional development that actually helps them grow? This is not one and done professional development. This is not sit and get professional development. This is real-time, job-embedded, ongoing professional development. Are you mentoring your emerging leaders and giving them opportunities to step up? Remember, I talked about micromanaging and that you would absolutely be worn out if you micromanaged everything. You have leaders in your building that are just waiting for the opportunity to shine, to show you what they know, to show other teachers what they know, to help other teachers grow. This is your opportunity as a leader to put those people in the right places with the people that they can help. You don't need a team of 5-star recruits to build a great school. You need a team that is developed, that is supported, and that is empowered to play to their great strengths. Number 3 is make in-game adjustments. Even the best game plans fall apart if a coach can't adjust to what's happening in real time. Every March Madness game is filled with those unexpected challenges. Sometimes there's an injury that takes a star player out, or there's some momentum swings, or the other team changes up their offense or their defense, and the coach has to pivot and think about those things. The teams that win are the ones whose coaches know how to pivot and adjust in real time. As a leader, flexibility is key. So think about it. A new curriculum maybe isn't landing with your teachers the way you had expected. So you have to adapt your approach. When I was a principal, I came into a school that had started using iReady curriculum, but they weren't actually using the curriculum. They were only using the diagnostic tool. And I thought that was kind of absurd because why use just the diagnostic and then not be able to implement anything else? So I implemented the entire curriculum online and hard copy. And it was hard for my teachers because this was something different. It was very rigorous. So I had to adapt, and I called in some big guns, and we learned the whole curriculum through professional development because I had invested a lot of money in this, and we were investing time, and I wanted to make sure that my teachers were able to implement it properly, that it would stick, and that it would increase our student achievement. Maybe you're dealing with a discipline policy that isn't really effective. Do you double down, or do you just adjust to what your students need? Maybe you have a staff member who's struggling in their particular role. Do you let them sink, or do you find a way to support them? And I hope you're saying, I'm going to figure out how to support them. I'm going to set them up for success. I'm going to remove barriers. I'm going to help them be successful. Leadership isn't about rigidly sticking to a plan that you think you have to stick to. It's about reading the game and making the right adjustments at the right time. Number 4, keep your team motivated in crunch time. March Madness is full of games where teams battle through adversity. The ones that push through have leaders who know how to keep them motivated. The same is true in a school. Whether it's teacher burnout or maybe a tough stretch in the semester, right now we're all feeling the crunch of the winter doldrums and we're coming into spring and now things are ramping up, thinking about testing. Or maybe there's a school-wide challenge. Right now in southern Missouri, we have had some severe storms. Last week, there were tornadoes that hit at least 3 school districts that I know of, and that is a challenge that they have to address immediately. Leadership has to stay positive. You have to make sure that your teachers aren't worried. Whether or not you know exactly what you're going to do, you have to put your teachers at ease. Even if you're trying to figure it out at that moment, you have to put your teachers at ease and say, we're going to come up with a plan that everybody can live with. It may not be perfect, but we're going to make it through the rest of this year and we're going to be successful because morale matters. Your role as a leader is to keep your team engaged and focused even when the pressure is on. How do you do this? Well, first of all, you're going to celebrate some small wins. Recognize progress, guys, not just perfection. Next, be visible and present. A great coach isn't just sitting on the sidelines waiting to see what happens. No, they're in the huddle. They are talking from the sidelines. Well, most of the time in March Madness, they're yelling from the sidelines. As a building principal, it is your job to be out in the hallways, walk those halls, be in classrooms, visit every classroom every day if you're able to, because I know that sometimes you are the leader of a very large building, and it may not be feasible for you to be in every classroom every day, but You need to be in every classroom every week for sure. Check in on your staff, especially those that are struggling for whatever reason, whether it is with their instruction, whether it be something personal that they're struggling with, whatever the case may be visible and check in on that teacher specifically, and always communicate the vision. When things get tough, remind your team why they do what they do, why you do what you do. Purpose fuels perseverance. Great leaders don't just manage people, they inspire them. Be an inspiration to your team. And last but not least, finish strong. Have that championship mindset. The best teams don't let up when they're ahead. They play hard until the final buzzer. In education, the same principle applies. Whether it's wrapping up a major initiative or finishing the year strong or maintaining excellence year after year, your ability to sustain that momentum is what sets you apart. To finish strong, ask yourself these questions. Are you keeping expectations high, even when fatigue sets in? And I know how it is at the end of the year. We think, okay, we're almost to the end. We can let up a little. No, you can't. You still have kids who need to learn. You still have kids who are struggling and need every last minute to get to the finish line. High school is where I'm really thinking about. You may have some students who are so close to graduation this year, but they are really struggling to get to that finish line. And you have to keep going. You have to keep pushing. Are you reinforcing the fundamentals that got you here? Are you helping your team push through to the finish line with clarity and energy? Champions don't let up when they're so close to the end. They complete everything they have to complete until they get to the end. As a leader, it's your job to model that, to set that example. So here's your action step for this week. Pick one of these leadership lessons and apply it this week in your own context. Maybe it's celebrating a small win to boost that morale. Maybe it's making an adjustment that's long overdue. Or maybe it's stepping up your coaching game and developing your team. If you're an aspiring leader, be reflective about your own teaching if you're still in the classroom. And make sure that you are pushing your students to the very end, that you are not letting up. Whatever it is, take action like a championship coach. For our coaches out there who are listening, I know this is going to probably hurt you to your deepest core, but March Madness isn't just about basketball. I know. It's okay. In this context, in this episode, it's about leadership. It's about strategy. It's about perseverance. The best teams aren't just built on talent. They're built on trust, adaptability, and a culture of excellence. And as a leader, you have the power to create that kind of environment at your school. So step into your role, coach your team, and lead them to victory. If this episode got you thinking about leadership in a new way, let's keep the conversation going. Tag me on social media at Mel Vandevort and share your biggest takeaway. And if you're ready to take your leadership to the next level, reach out and talk to me because I want to help you get to where you want to go. If you're a new building leader and you have some team members that really struggle with instructional mastery or student engagement, I have a workshop series that's just for you and for your teachers. Reach out to me because I'm getting ready to start a workshop series on student engagement, and I would love for your teachers to be part of that. And don't forget to follow the show so you never miss an episode. And I would so very much appreciate it if you would give me a rating and a review because it helps me grow the show and helps other people find me. And don't forget that at the very top of the show notes, you can send me a text message. I actually got a text message from someone in, I think I'm pronouncing this correctly, I'm not sure, Huma, Louisiana. I hope I said that correctly. If not, I apologize sincerely. This person said, I started listening to your podcast about a month ago and have thoroughly enjoyed all of the knowledge that you've shared. I would love to hear a podcast related to interviewing skills and strategies focused on speaking with confidence. I just want you to know that I've already started prepping that. And so look for that in the coming weeks. I have several guests that I am getting ready to interview. I have a whole bunch of them lined up already on my calendar. As you know, I've kind of been displaced for the last few months, actually since the beginning of December when my lease ran out, but I have an apartment now and I am super excited to start interviewing guests again. So look for those episodes coming up very soon. And if you or someone you know would make an amazing guest on this show, then send me that text message. I would love to talk to you about your message to the audience and get you booked. Or if you have an inspiring story of someone who is leading from the classroom or in a leadership position, then send me that text message as well. I would love to feature that on the show. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I hope you have an amazing weekend. I will see you back here, same time, same place next week. Bye-bye.